This is Kim Meyer, host of Choose to Rise. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hi, everybody. This is Baxter Colburn from Public House Media. From all of us here at PHM, we'd like to thank you for your support and wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This is Sam Kirby, host of Cinema Stories here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Cinema Stories, where we hang out and just talk movie and TV news and reviews, and it's awesome. A new show comes out every single Tuesday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Cinema Stories. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Yo, and hello, everyone. Welcome to Hollywood Happy Place. Jerry Strauss here once again, and we are really into it, aren't we? The holiday season is afoot. Depending on what you may or may not celebrate, some of it may have already passed you by, but it's just festive for all of us. Everyone's a little nicer. Everyone is a little more jovial, more jolly, if you will. And yeah, there might be more traffic on the roads. The parking lots may be that much fuller these days, but at least everyone is hopefully trying to maintain that good holiday spirit. So hope you're enjoying it as well as I am. I am enjoying bringing this to you. Hollywood Happy Place, of course. So much great feedback, so much great success so far. All thanks to you guys and, of course, our team at Public House Media. I can't thank them enough. I do it every week, but everything that they do to help deliver this show to you guys on iTunes, on Spreaker, on Google Play, Alexa, on iHeartRadio, et cetera, even on YouTube. We've got it going on over there as well. So thank you for checking us out however you may do so. Make sure you follow us, you like us, you subscribe to us. We appreciate the loyalty, we appreciate the support, and we appreciate any constructive feedback as well. Ratings on iTunes are always appreciated. Also want to give a shout out to our good friends at Zoom Conferencing. Yes, that is our new source, if you will, of superpower here on this show. They are enabling us to have great conversations with people all over the country and beyond, and to record it and bring it to you in seamless fashion. They're a great source, a resource for anything from professional conferencing to video and audio recording. So it's great for podcasts, but it's also great for the corporate world and so much more. It's a great service. We'll be talking about them much more in the coming weeks, but great to have them on board as partners of sorts in this endeavor. Yeah, let's get to it. Why wait any longer? We've got a really cool guest for you this week. Someone I've interviewed before. She's a fellow Jersey person, and I always enjoy, living in New Jersey all my life. A lot of my work in writing, freelance writing, has come through a lot of magazines and newspapers that are Jersey-centric. Inside Jersey Magazine, New Jersey Monthly Magazine, South Jersey Magazine, Age Magazine. A lot of you followed me and found some of the interviews that I've done in text form over the months and years. We'll see that a lot of it is there, which means that I talk to a lot of people who share that origin of having some big part of their life here in Jersey, whether they were born here or grew up here, whatever the case may be. I've talked to a lot of Jersey people. She's one of my favorites. She's a comedic genius. She's just an awesomely entertaining person. She's an Emmy award-winning comedy writer alongside none other than Tina Fey, who she worked with on a little show called 30 Rock. After that, she worked with someone else we know, Mindy on the Mindy Project for a number of years as well. And now she's in charge of her own show. It's called Great News on NBC. It's in its second season. Great sitcom. Very, very funny stuff. And it's going to be exciting to see where she goes with that, because she's the showrunner. She's in charge. She's also on the show, by the way. And the whole thing is about a newsroom with a main character whose mother decides to, late in life, take an internship there and become part of this crazy, zany newsroom. And the mother on the show is actually based on Tracy's own mom. So it's very interesting from her perspective. And it was great to catch up to her. And I really want to thank her because we talk about it in this chat. She was about, I think, like 8.5+ weeks pregnant when we had this conversation, which was a couple of weeks ago now. So, hopefully things have gone smoothly and healthy, whatever the timetable for her may be for that. But I was really appreciative that she was in good spirits and willing to be on the show at a time when she probably was feeling a little uncomfortable, a little stressed. I don't know. She sounded okay. But regardless, great to catch up with her. Perfect for a holiday edition of Hollywood Happy Place. So let's not wait any longer. Let's get to it. Tracy Wigfield, how are things for you now? I know that a lot has changed for you personally, professionally. It's just a busy time for all of us, but certainly a very busy time for you.
Yes, actually things are, at least at Great News, are winding down a little bit. We just finished shooting our second season. And so I'm editing it right now. And so we should be done with that right before the holidays. But I'm 9 months pregnant, so it's
yeah.
But professionally, things are calming down a little bit.
I gotta say, you sound so content and sane, which is not my experience with most people who I've been around who have gotten to that stage that you are now. Yeah. Has that process during this time, has that affected your, I don't know, I guess sort of your priority outlook? Because I have to feel like it's got to be harder to prioritize funny stuff when you're not necessarily always in the mood to do so.
Sure. I have a feeling that gets harder when the child is out in the world and talking and stuff, that it's harder to kind of be like, oh, but I need to work 80 hours this week or something. But it actually has not been that bad. It timed out okay that I had a lot of energy and stuff, and we finished shooting. We finished shooting 2 weeks ago, I guess. So now I'm starting to feel a little bit tired, and it takes me longer to get up the stairs, and I'm not sleeping so great. So now I'm relieved we're locking the finale this week, and I'm not, I'm not running down to set and getting here at 5 a.m. and stuff anymore, because I think at a certain point it just becomes untenable.
So there won't be any dancing on the bar at the after party or anything like that.
No, we had our wrap party already. And I was, it was fun to be the only very sober one.
So for those who, so many of you have been enjoying Great News this season, but for those who may not have caught the show yet or are familiar with you, of course, you a long history in comedy, coming from where I'm speaking to you from right now in Jersey, and sort of making your way through the ranks, being involved with the Mindy Project, being involved with 30 Rock, with Tina Fey, with Mindy Kaling, and to the point now where you're behind this show. You're the driving force behind Great News, which has had a great, obviously, first season, second season, just growing on that. What's it been like for you? Because, I mean, we just talked about it off air. Like, I last spoke to you for an article before the first season of Great News. So you've had a season and then some to sort of live in this role. Has it been what you've expected? You know,
it does get, it definitely gets easier. Like, I knew the job, like, I'm I'm an executive producer of this show, but I'm a showrunner, if that's a job title that people have heard of before, which really means you're kind of the end of the line for all decision making, like when it comes to script and stuff on set and editing and dealing with the studio and the network and stuff. So this show has been my first time doing that, and the first season I knew it was going to be kind of hard, but it is really overwhelming how many decisions you have to make just constantly. And then, like anything else, I think it just gets easier because, well, a couple of reasons. Like, what the job is, and you're more comfortable doing it and more confident in, like, oh, okay, I know the answers to all these questions. And also it becomes a well-oiled machine. Like, the cast knows each other and the writers know each other, and it's not all new people kind of figuring out the rhythms of the show. Like, second season, we were lucky enough to get a lot of our writers back and a lot of our crew back and stuff. So it's just a little bit, it's just a little less chaotic and a little bit less of a learning curve the second season.
Mm-hmm. Did you, obviously the first season went very, very well, hence season 2. Did you feel sort of a progression as far as how the public took to the show, or, just sort of growing support for it? Because it's interesting that in this day and age, it's not just about who's watching the show at the time it airs on the day that it airs, and then they forget about it over the summer or whatever, but shows can gain audiences at weird times, even at times when the show's not even currently doing new episodes. Right. And people are binge watching it later on. Is that something that happened with Great News?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got we got a nice boost season 2 because our first season premiered sort of at a weird time in April, and we only did 10 episodes our first season, and they sort of double pumped them and aired them 2 at a time every week. So it was very hard, I think, for a new audience to find the show. But this season, NBC really set us up, and we had a great time slot on. We have a great time slot on a comedy night after Will and Grace. So it was a great opportunity for more people to find the show, which has been awesome. And yeah, exactly what you're saying is right. Like, the hope with comedies, especially, is people want to find them and watch them from the beginning and not just jump in the middle of their second season or whatever. So what you're hoping is happening is that people are hearing about the show. And just recently, I think our whole first season and what we've aired so far of the second season went up on Hulu. So you can now, and on NBC.com. So you can now catch up on it. And, hopefully we can get on Netflix, because that's just another way that people can kind of get invested from the very beginning, and then that will translate hopefully to people watching it live, which still does kind of matter for not getting your show canceled.
Sure. Now, you've spoken before about the concept of the show. Of course, it's basically kind of sort of a workplace show, but it also involves a character based on your actual mother. And in the show, the main character's mom comes in and starts interning at the news station. How's your mom feeling about all this as things have gone on? Has she been okay with the direct? Because you have to believe she's actually the unofficial showrunner. She's the one who calls the shots.
she's so okay with it. No, she actually yesterday she was telling me, she's like, I feel like she's really into Will and Grace. She watches and obviously our show too, but she's like, I feel like I act more like Grace than I do Carol on your show. I was like, that's patently untrue and insane. This is a character who says things that literally come out of your mouth. But my mom is she's just really excited. Like she is sort of a funny character in her own right. And one of the great things about her is she doesn't, she's not easily embarrassed, or I'm sure a lot of moms would be like, why are you, airing our dirty laundry or are you making fun of me in this way? She's very much in on the joke. And I think she's just sort of excited for the show to continue and more people to watch it. And, she loves it. Like this is a dream come true. She knows I can't make a second show about her. So I think she is all in on that.
Is she, has she gone Hollywood since she's kind of a star of a show?
She's in Hollywood since the day she was born. So,
so she's the one dancing on the bar at the rap party.
Yeah. Oh, she was there. Yeah. There's nowhere to go.
Oh my goodness. That's really amazing. And the show just continues to grow. I wanted to ask you, as someone who, comedy is your career and obviously a student of the game, what is it about the workplace comedy that has become sort of just the go-to over generation after generation? It just seems to work better really than almost any other kind of concept.
Well, part of it is there's something really, and the lucky trick of writing this show is that we get to have our cake and eat it too, where it's like a family show and you get all the kind of warmth and deeper emotional stories you can tell with that sort of within a workplace comedy. But I think the appeal of it is like it's a location where you can have a giant a big diversity in characters and people from all different backgrounds and all different ages and, with different points of view and specific perspectives that you can kind of mine comedy out of, and I think like that's not, it's sort of been like in American tradition in comedy, partially because it's like in multicam shows and even in single cam network shows, it's like, we can't just be like, running to Italy to shoot scenes. And so it's like you want a place that feels that's your home base, a location that, you can basically stick to every week and keep coming back to and have stories to tell in this one place, as opposed to, there are certainly shows, and especially now with bigger budgets and shows being shot like movies, there are a lot more shows that, that are not sort of anchored in that way, that, are in a different place every week. And those are cool to watch too.
Yeah. We talked before about your history. You worked kind of shoulder to shoulder alongside or really close in some way to Mindy Kaling with the Mindy Project. Before that, you had established your relationship with Tina Fey and 30 Rock. Were there lessons looking back? Maybe you didn't even realize it at the time, but were there things that you learned working on those successful shows that transfer to your work now with Great News?
Totally. Yeah. And it's like anytime you're, you don't even know the things that you're learning while you're learning them. It's more like, you have to wait until you get into the job, and are kind of like, oh God, I don't know how to do any of this. And then you're like, oh wait, I do know how to do this. Like I've watched other people do this job, for the past 10 years that, you really learn through osmosis on the job. And I started working for Tina about 10 years ago on 30 Rock. And both her and Mindy are obviously great role models as bosses. And one of Tina's strengths is she comes from an improv background. So she's like very used to collaboration and is very good at kind of listening to, like in a writer's room, especially sort of listening to everyone in the room and, even kind of more timid voices and making sure that everyone's heard and that you're not just using the ideas of the loudest blowhard who keeps, pitching the same stupid joke or whatever, because things from, at least in comedy, I find that stories and jokes from one perspective are always worse than when it's, something that's built together by 10 people who are very different and have different takes on things, just like your characters will. So she's very good at collaboration and she's very good at listening to people. She also would tell me, because she's an executive producer in the show, and during the pilot process, she kept saying it sounds like a little kind of basic advice, but listen to your instincts and the answers to things. You don't have to second guess yourself if someone disagrees with you. It's okay to be no, I want it this way. And and that I think is really valuable advice when you're in charge, especially if you're a woman who's never been completely in charge before, to kind of know that you know the right answers. And and Mindy is very good at this too. She's very decisive and very good at kind of saying no, do it again until it's the way it's supposed to be, because you're the one making the call ultimately. And you're just going to kind of waste everyone's time if you're trying to be if you're trying to be polite and be yeah, I think that graphic looks good. That prop is kind of what I wanted. It's no, just say what you want and know that you know the right answer, whether ultimately it's right or not. I don't know if it totally matters, but you want to be making the show you want to make.
It's really an interesting concept because it sounds so logical in theory, but so difficult maybe to grasp in reality.
And you want to be, and all these people are creative people too who work for you. So, it's not just a bunch of people crunching numbers. It's set decorators and costume designers and prop masters and people who spent all weekend looking for this perfect fur coat you wrote about in the script. And then, I think it's something I struggled with in the beginning to be no, that's wrong or that, and because it's not wrong. It's just not, it's not the vision of what the thing is.
Right. Is it difficult because ultimately your direction trickles down to every aspect of the show, the creative, the performance, everything. You're dealing with, not only veteran performers who are part of your cast, but also, inevitably people with more experience than you, like you say, in different categories. What is the hierarchy like between yourself and even Tina, who, as an executive producer, where does the ultimately, if there is a disagreement, how does that work?
Yeah, well, she and Robert Carlock, who's the other executive producer on the show and was my boss, he was the head writer of 30 Rock for the 7 years that the show was on. They're really great executive producers in that they're involved and as helpful as as I want them to be, and they've done this a bunch of times, with 30 Rock and Kimmy Schmidt, and so they obviously know what they're doing a lot more than I do, and it's been very rare that they've given a note or something and I've been no, I know better. And I'll tell you the couple times that I was trying out my limits and was no, I think it was right how I wrote it originally or whatever. So one time I remember doing that. Then in post when I was watching it back, I was oh no, they were right. We have to reshoot it. And you have to call Universal and be I need money because I screwed up. We have to shoot this thing again. I'm sorry. But they're not, and we don't have a really, they also are so good about kind of letting me learn and not, they're very helpful mentors. That situation almost never happens that we're on opposite sides of something.
Gotcha. You mentioned a background in, you had been involved with the Upright Citizens Brigade, apologies, and, just the improv world and the art of improv in general, which is something that, of course, Tina Fey famously comes from that background as well. And how much of that trickles into the making of the show? Do you like to offer that kind of freedom when you're making the show, or is it more necessary to stick to the scripts?
Yeah, not really, actually. On 30 Rock, there was no improv, and really at all. I mean, sometimes if the blow to a scene, like the last joke to a scene wasn't working or something on the floor, like Tina would, and the writer on the floor would be like, let's try this as an alt or something. And that's kind of what we do too. On the Mindy Project, there was like a little more improv. My personal feeling on it, and it's not that the actors aren't great improvisers, because they are, and you want to, if people have ideas, you want to respect them because they are professionals who know what they're doing too. But I kind of feel like it's like anything, there's a danger when you improvise that things will feel really funny because they're new and you haven't heard them. It's not like a joke that you wrote 3 weeks ago and then heard at a table read, and now you've heard the actor saying 5 times. And then, someone comes in and is like, or what about this? And everyone laughs on set because it's new. And then when you get into editing, you're like, oh no, that was just like first thought and not as funny as the original joke, Right. You don't want to get excited about something new when there's a reason we spend so much time kind of working on jokes and making sure stories line up, and the writers kind of pour over the words, and the actors are really respectful of that we really we almost never improvise, unless it's like a physical thing, and John Michael Higgins and Andrea Martin are the whole cast are really kind of skilled physical comedians, and that will happen often, that it'll be something where we wrote a joke and then Andrea just tripping and falling in a trash can is way funnier on set. Okay, just do that.
There's nothing funnier than people falling in trash cans.
You can't write that.
So hey, it's the holiday season, you've got a lot going on. But kind of looking back, because, we didn't get to talk a lot this time about your days growing up in New Jersey and et cetera, et cetera. But, certainly a big change for you early in your life, going from the East Coast to the West Coast. Is there anything that makes you kind of nostalgic about Christmas or the holidays here?
Well, New Jersey's not currently on fire, which Los Angeles is. So I meant that. You could live in a house that wasn't on fire.
Are you anywhere near there?
We're very lucky, and I obviously shouldn't joke about that because tens of thousands of people have had to be evacuated out of their houses. But we're in our studio, and where we live is in the valley, so it's kind of air quality wise, you kind of feel like there's a layer of soot on our pool that we're oh, that's weird. What's that? Of ash. But we are far enough away from it that we haven't had it to be evacuated or anything scary. But it's real bad right now.
Can you, or have you actually seen visually any of this fire, even from afar? Because there's videos surfacing online of people driving on highways, and it almost makes me stop and say, is this actually real? Because it kind of looks like bad CGI.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Not this fire, but a couple months ago there was another fire in Burbank that we were shooting at a hotel where it had been a disastrous day anyway. We were shooting an episode this season where the office goes to a journalism award show, and the whole day was kind of rife with disasters where the alarm, there was a fire within the hotel and the alarm kept going off, and then it was there was unrelated, there was a pipe burst and there was a flood on the first floor, and then all the toilets they had to turn off all the plumbing, and they had to turn off the air conditioning. It was a disaster. And then we went out outside. We had like night shoots where we had to keep running outside the hotel, and the whole hill was just on fire. And that was like a Burbank fire. That was like I want to say like 2 months ago. And that that really kind of looked like it was like, oh, it's the end of the world. Like we are in hell after this day of disasters. It was like, yeah, why wouldn't all of Burbank also be on fire?
Oh my goodness! And the ironic part is that you left the state that most people would consider to be the original hell of Jersey, and you just can't escape it. Yeah, we're expecting some snow here as we speak. So, it'd be nice to have that over there.
Yeah, I miss snow. Like, it's nice. This is my first. I usually always go home to New Jersey for Christmas, but this is the first year I can't fly.
Right.
So this is the first year we're staying here, and yeah, of course you miss it. Like, it's nice with the snow, and you go to the Garden State Plaza to go Christmas shopping, and is Fountains of Wayne still around? We used to go there all the time. They used to have that like big weird Christmas display.
I thought you were asking about the. I thought you were asking about the band.
No,
I'm like, I don't know if they're still around. I think the thing they were named. I believe so.
Yeah, they were named after the Garden Center, right?
I assume so. I doubt it's the other way around. That would be very impressive if it was the other way around. Yeah, we've still got all the things I'm sure that you love and remember about Jersey here, good and bad. But I'm glad you're focusing on the positive and totally ignoring the traffic and everything else that gets. Right. Yeah, and you guys have like a Christmas episode of Great News, right?
We do.
Did I see that?
Yes. I don't want to give you the wrong date. On December 21st, we have our Christmas episode airs, and actually then we have another episode airing also that night. And it's a really fun one where the office has to work on Christmas Day, and Carol, sort of based on my own mother, has like way too much Christmas spirit, and she finds herself in a reverse Christmas Carol where she has to learn that like Christmas isn't important and she needs to stop driving everyone insane.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, hey, this is a great time. Like we said before, the holiday downtime of TV is a great time to catch up on stuff that you've been meaning to watch, or just to re-binge watch things all over again. So if you are not up on Great News, now is a great time to check it out, like you said, on Hulu or wherever you can just get as many episodes as you can.
On iTunes, and NBC.com has all of them as well.
Excellent. Tracy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're feeling okay, and I encourage you to rest as much as you possibly can, because you're not going to be doing it again for like 3 or 4 years. So
Great. Wasn't tired at all. Good.
Thank you. Great to talk to you.